very much, of course, for your roar, and of course for none other than Amelia and Tim to join. I'll just scoot a chair a little bit closer, so I can actually see you, because this plant is beautiful, but slightly away.
It's a really big plant.
It's a very big plant. Like everything big when you use your voice, and that's something, of course, where you're both very known for, of course, as being actors, but also voice actors with Baldur's Gate 3. Your voices are almost like a cult to be followed. People know you, notice you everywhere.
It's not a cult.
I've actually talked to your manager as well, and people say, Amelia, people in the street usually don't recognize you until you start talking. How has it changed your life in a way? Because I can understand that normally it's just walking across the street, doing your life, but you're now suddenly...
It's a little bit weird. I have to put on a fake voice when I get food delivered to my house now, which is odd, but good practice, I guess.
It's just a new role, waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's fine.
I had a strange experience where I was on a ferry on a Sunday evening, and I was going from a tiny island called the Isle of Wight in the UK. It's a tiny little island. Sunday evening, nobody on a ferry at all. And my daughter said, "Oh, can I get an orange juice?" Oh, really? Fine, come on then, let's get an orange juice. Went up to the counter, one guy behind the counter, and I said, "Hi, sorry, hello. Can I get an orange juice and a coffee?" And he said, "Oh my God, you're Gaylord Waterdeep." And it's then I realised maybe I should have done an accent. Maybe I should have done a voice, otherwise I can't order coffee on ferries ever again.
I love the idea of people who are famous for a particular character ordering really mediocre things. It's like, sorry, can I get chips with that?
Is this gravy? Have you got any gravy? You're Gaylord Waterdeep.
That's an ice cream, Tim. Why do you want that?
You're getting an ice cream. Stop licking the damn thing.
Oh, he's done it. He's done it already.
It's going to be very scary to order anything. Like, of course, your face is known. Like, I told my wife, I'm going to have Tim Downie, Amelia Tyler there. She has played Baldur's Gate, but she's also like, he's also in Good Omens, he's also in Outlander, he's in everything. Like, you've already known that, but like, has ventured into such a, well, now renowned game as Baldur's Gate 3 changed the perspective of your career, or people looking at you in a certain way?
It has. Well, it never, games never really featured, because you know, my whole career up to that point had been TV and film and working within that. So I understand that world. That's a world I've lived in for years and years and years, and it's a world that you train for in drama schools. The drama schools never touch anything like games. They might do voiceovers in as much as, well, you know, here's a documentary, or you might be advertising telecommunication products. So that's how we'll teach you, but they'll never teach you anything, even remotely, like this.
It's only recent.
It's very recent.
And not for long.
No, not at all. So it has been revelatory in so many different ways, and so many opportunities have come up because of this particular thing. So it's been a very interesting and extraordinary learning curve. And I think it's quite an outlier, like Baldur's Gate, as it's my first game, and I think you can attest to this. It's unique, it's totally unique, like it's ruined me, I think. For any other game, I'm going to assume now every game is going to be, well, it's going to be like Baldur's Gate, sure. Every game is like this, but it isn't. But now I know it very, very much isn't. So that's going to be, interesting.
The bar is set.
Yes, the bar has been set.
Now, Amelia, of course, you're truly a voice in the game. You're not that much of a character, but still you are such an instrumental part of the experience. Have you had, like, weird requests like, or could you maybe do like the Tube voiceover as well? Because it would make sense. You're such a soothing character. You're always there. You're telling everything and everyone.
Please mind the gap. Make it sound like a threat. There are tentacles under there. You don't want to just jump, mate. Just jump. Weird requests. I've been asked to perform several people's weddings.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't been able to do one yet, but I would be totally down for that. Can you imagine just getting ordained just for shits and giggles and then doing people's weddings?
Absolutely should do that. You absolutely should do that. That would be brilliant. That would be brilliant.
So yeah, maybe one day I'll actually be able to say yes.
I'm very happy I got married last year, but now I have regrets thinking about this idea of asking you to officiate
a wedding.
You
break up and do it again.
I could. I think my wife would be open for it. I think my bank account not that much. So that's a little bit of an issue.
You could do it on Skype or something. Keep the budget down.
It's very nice. Tim,
Nothing says romance like a
Nothing
low
says-
budget.
I've had to do proposals. So I've done a lot of proposals for people.
On their behalf?
On their behalf. I know.
I'm not
With
sure how
very,
I feel
very little
about
to
that.
go on. Like, oh, okay. Can I get some details as to
Isn't that
who you are
like
to these
legally
people?
binding at that point?
Well, apparently I've married a lot of people. I've proposed to a lot of people,
did hear that.
and they have accepted. So my wife has been thrilled.
God, that is so Gail.
It's very COVID.
Love me.
I don't want your magic items, I want your proposal. Give it to me. No, but you also said it's open doors. You now, like, of course, your face was known, your voice was known, but now your voice has accelerated beyond anything else. How do you then balance everything out? Because then there's probably now more requests than you probably could handle, right? I would dare to imagine. Hope.
Yeah, so I'm now looking at things going, how can I slightly change my voice in some sort of strange way? Maybe if I do a deep, but no, it's still Gale.
just deep
isn't it?
Tim.
It's just deep Gale. Maybe if I do something more malevolent. No, that's dark Tim, dark Gale again. So yes, so I'm going to have to do a completely different accent. I'm going to have to go American or Liverpudlian or Australian or something like that.
Scottish Girl?
Scottish Gael, yeah, absolutely. My dad's a Scot, so I can absolutely do a Scottish Gael. If I did it now, nobody would understand. I barely understand anything they say, let alone from a different audience. Yeah, hey pal, how's it going? See, that is just like, what? Is that a threat?
That was not what I expected.
Okay, I was quite Glaswegian.
Yeah.
So it's quite different, you know. Just don't like it, the damn thing.
I thought we were going to have problems, to be honest, because the Scottish accent is a weakness for me, but it turns out I'm fine.
You're alright.
I'm really looking forward to the Baldur's Gate spin-off, local edition, with certain voice.
Baldur's Gate
Old
train
reality.
spotting. Train spotting Baldur's Gate.
I really love how your voice instantly goes higher. You've gone the lower Gael, but now suddenly, like, the Scottish Gael is suddenly higher.
Oh yeah. There's a whole range there. Go through the islands. Oh, it's going to be wonderful. Honestly, watch out for it.
Yeah. Amelia, is Baldur's Gate something you've been absolutely thrilled about? Because I think a lot of people think you're just putting in a voice, but like how much work actually goes into it? Because I think, especially with all the lines that you guys have to put in, especially with how dynamic the game is, open for the input of a player, it might be hours and hours of work.
Oh God, we were recording, I was recording for just under 4 years. Not solidly, obviously, that would be insane. I think the original release, somebody put out just a YouTube video of every single one of my lines before any of the extra patches and whatnot. And I think that was 14 hours of me solidly talking, which it's too much, honestly, for any human to listen to.
My wife would say that is too much if I talk for 40 minutes, so I can imagine.
It's been interesting as a process, and especially when we were recording, I started in 2020, so that was my lockdown experience, recording this from home constantly for 4 years. So this got me through some really rough times and some
Almost like a fever dream. I wake up, do some voice recording.
If you've seen that episode of Buffy where she wakes up and it turns out she's in an insane asylum and she's hallucinated her entire life, that's kind of how I felt for the majority of those 4 years, and a bit today, honestly. I'm just constantly waiting to wake up because this is weird what's happened over the last year and a half.
Yeah, it really is. Because I started in studio and then COVID hit and then I was at home. So then when you're having to do the recordings of this, knowing that everybody's at home, not even you knew everyone was at home. So I had to do a lot of death sounds in my daughter's bedroom into a wardrobe because that was the quietest place, under a duvet in the hottest summer that we'd ever known. And you'd be like, right, so today you're going to be hit by some arrows made of ice, but make it different to the arrows made of fire. And then you're just spending your day screaming, and then children running upstairs going, is everything okay? Why are you screaming? Go, thank you. Daddy's acting, so thank you for that. But also realising that there's neighbours going, what is going on in that house? I worry about those children in that house, the screaming that's going on. So that was quite interesting. And then once COVID then receded, I then had to record in studio, but for some reason, they said you can't wear your outside shoes in the booth. So I wore slippers that I nicked from a hotel for most of that latter part of the recording. So either Gail's either in a wardrobe or wearing slippers. And I think that's quite good. I think that fits quite well, actually.
Gail feels like the sort of person who would steal hotel slippers
Most definitely.
to chew on.
Yeah. Just a little something.
nibble.
A snack before lunch. Yeah.
Just needs them all together. Now, I can understand, especially like normally if you do voice acting, you're in a studio, there's someone behind the screen or in your ear just saying, oh, that's really good, oh, I might just tweak that a little. But if you're in your wardrobe or in your home for all the time, there might be someone talking on the other side of the internet. But it's a very weird experience, right? Because the feedback is just not direct.
Honestly, like for me, from my experience, I've been doing voice acting since I was 5 years old, so like 1986. When you're focusing on a script, even if the producer is in the next room, you're hearing him through your headphones, so it's kind of the same for me. I didn't find it weird, and I got on really well with the directors that I had, so we just got to have fun.
If you normally just do voiceover, it's very easy. You just do multiple lines, right?
Yeah, I kind of do everything, but in that, like in a booth environment, you're focused so heavily on the script in front of you, you're kind of not logging that other people are around. I think you start giving quite a stilted performance if you're constantly aware of other people.
Yeah. I did, during COVID, I did a couple of radio plays. And that's quite strange to do because you're then having to respond to all the other actors. So we had to be sent a kit from the BBC. Say, well, this is like studio grade, like a huge crate would arrive. And you'd have to set it up inside the wardrobe again because that was the quietest thing. And then have to play out, right, you're in Elizabethan London, and I was playing Christopher Marlowe, and there was Shakespeare, but you'd have a little screen with everyone's face on it. But because of the quality of the equipment, it was immediate, so you could bounce off each other, which was really, really good. But really strange, because everyone was either under duvet, so it was just a dark screen, and suddenly someone would just kind of lift up, hello, I'm here, and then drop it, and it'd be black again. So that was quite an interesting experience to not physically see, but you're in the radio.
That was the only time that I really, really missed being in studio with people when I did a radio play, because you want to have that eye contact with somebody when
You want to sense the emotion, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think also emotion is an interesting part because as a regular actor, just having your face on there, there's a lot of movement, a lot of body that you have to give to the role, but if you only have a voice, it's suddenly completely different. Of course, you already use your voice to convey emotion, but now it's the only thing you actually can do, and then you hope the programmers make it work as well. Tim, was that a big challenge for you, coming from the regular TV and film?
It was certainly a challenge. I think I didn't fully appreciate just how much of a skill to do it well really, really is. Because you can go in thinking this is just voiceover, this is just voice work, but you don't have anybody in front of you, so you are acting. This is an acting piece. You are having to convey emotion or rage or whatever it is, but with nobody there to bounce off, no facial thing happening that you can play off. You have to have it all in your head and picture it in your head. So the way I've described it before is it's like you are 5 years old and you're given a stick and told that's a sword. Now go into the garden and you've got to create a world that you could be in for hours. And that's basically what it's like. You have to put yourself in the mind of a 5-year-old going, I really believe all of this, and there is a world out there, and there's a castle on a hill, and I'm being attacked by orcs, and this is my stick, but it's a sword, and really lean into it. And it's tricky. It's really, really tricky.
You can't be frightened of looking like an idiot.
No,
at any point, because that's the moment people freeze up.
Yeah.
Especially in performance capture, when you're wearing a skin-tight grey suit with dots all over it.
Nobody looks
If
good
you
in
stop to think about how you look at any point during that, that's the death of that entire scene. You're going to look like an idiot, and you're going to sound like an idiot half the time.
Yeah, it's when someone says, do you want to see their back? Yeah, no, I don't.
No,
can I just see
never.
the avatar? I do not need to see me dressed like that, doing that. I just put me in just animate it and show me that, okay, that's fine.
I just remember the vision of Benedict Cumberbatch as Smaug, and then you're like, it looks really weird, and I can understand if you are then thinking about how you look being a dragon in like a very skin-tight suit, it's going to be quite awkward.
No, you can't think about it. You've got to stop being you, because the real you is in a really weird situation.
And it's a regular room. It's just a regular room. So none of it is real. It's just a really strange concept to get your head around, because usually you'd be there and you're like, oh, they've got the set, and the thing is around you. even if you're on stage, you've got a set, there's things that put you in that world. There is nothing that puts you in that world apart from your own imagination, which is an extraordinary thing.
Well, it's different for me as well, because I've got aphantasia, so I can't picture things in my head.
Right.
So I don't get to do that. I can't do that. So I have a different way of doing things. If somebody describes a place to me, I don't see it, but I do feel it. So my brain translates descriptions into emotion and feelings and sensation.
It's like a feeling, for instance, it's a very big building, like you're feeling small, or is it in a different way?
Yeah, that exactly. So if somebody describes you've just come out of an argument, I would physically feel what it's like to have just been in an argument, which is kind of handy.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
Especially if you have to convey the emotions, you read the script, you're like, they're going to respond like this, and they're like, I have to feel mad, and you actually feel the anger, and it's quite easy to just throw it out.
It's being able to snap in and out of it, because no one wants that kind of method acting thing, especially in a voice booth. You'll go crazy. But I think that's why some actors have trouble with it, is that kind of...
living the part?
No, it's more like, if you take a film or a TV actor and put them in a voice booth, you can never tell. It's like a toss a coin whether this is going to be amazing or awful, because you've taken all their toys away. You've taken their body and their face and other people and the set and the costume, and it's just them. And can you sound like all of that is still there, like you are walking through a wood, even though you've got to be stationary, you can't move your head? Can you do it or not? And it's such a coin toss with actors, whether they can or not.
Totally, and I think that's when I first got into it. That's what I underestimated, because suddenly all your little tricks and things that you do are stripped away, and it's like, okay, do all of that, but you've got to keep it in. You can't even do it with your eyes. You've got to just do it with voice and pause and cadence and all of these other things that you may have learned 20 years ago and probably have used tiny bits of up until that point, and now you're asked to use it. It's such an art.
It's a great
an incredible art to do. It is. It's
like pare it back. Like, can you just like dig down into what makes that feel real?
Make us feel in a wood, but just with words. Paint that picture just with words without doing anything else. And
can you breathe like you're actually breathing and not reading a script? Because that's always tricky.
Yes.
For some people, I think, just bringing that.
Oh yeah, the breathing is always a problem. Breathing is always a problem. You're always told, especially in drama classes, do remember to breathe, because you do just try and get to the end. Sorry, I couldn't do that again. I missed every single comma. And start again, but yeah.
Never think you can reach the end of the line, because I've done live commentary of game tournaments for a long time, and I always just after a while like, oh boy, there has to be a breath somewhere in this line that is coming up, because otherwise I'm just gonna be like.
But that's the awesome thing about voice work. Sorry, I get very excited about this. Nobody knows in real life when their sentence is going to finish. It's only like bad guys in movies who are like, I know exactly what I'm saying because I'm going, I have practiced this in the mirror so many times. Like that kind of...
Or under a duvet.
But it sounds planned, it doesn't sound real. And people's emphasis and their pausing and where they take a break and then go, oh no, this other thought has just popped into my head, and then they carry on with a different sentence without stopping. Like, one of the most valuable things I've ever learned about voice work is just ignore the punctuation. Real people don't use it. Punctuation's for communication of a meaning, so it's really important for advertising, but real people don't use it.
No, absolutely. I remember doing that as a natural instinct would be to ignore it, because it's like, well, actually my rhythm, or the rhythm I've set up doesn't suit that rhythm. It would suit moving that comma to here and shifting that to there, which brings a whole new thing. But it's quite a release as well. You suddenly go, no, just interpret it as you want. Find the meaning within this sentence.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
You can always tell when people are paying too much attention to it when they start verbalizing commas. So, how are you feeling today, Tim? It's weird. It's weird.
It's very intimidating,
like
even. How are you feeling, Tim?
It's quite
suddenly really threatening.
Suddenly very threatening. Don't do it again.
Tim is feeling awful.
Now you're describing.
And then suddenly it's going to be very scary.
He shifted uncomfortably in his chair and looked up to the sky.
Oh boy.
So you should do my job.
But it's
Just what?
Oh, that will freak people out.
You can narrate, I won't be over my ex, it'll be fun.
Oh, here we go. This is it, spin-off.
Oh, I see so many opportunities popping up
I
right
can still
now.
be called Gail, which works.
There you go.
Amelia, of course, as a narrator, in the certain delivery, then interpunction is quite very important as well. Was it something that you were still able to slightly change the text to make it more you during the recording, or were they like, hey, this is what we've written down, this makes the most sense?
I think if I wanted to or I needed to, there were occasionally bits where we're like, what does this mean? That doesn't quite, but it was very rare. Like the writing for this was phenomenal. I can't say it enough. So that side of things was easy, and I kind of like seeing that as a challenge, unless you absolutely have to change something for meaning. Like I like to use a slightly unusual turn of phrase as an extra bit of flavour for my character. I'm like, okay, well, it doesn't make sense to me why they'd say it like that, but let's make it make sense. Okay, why do they think that? The freedom for me was in the interpretation of the different narrators. So every origin character and a whole bunch of different options within the game. If you've got a Fey patron or a Hellish patron or whatever you're playing as, you get a different kind of narrator. So I really loved playing with that difference. And the second we found the Dark Urge narrator, I was like, okay, this is where I live now. I just want to do this for the rest of my life. It just sounds like I want to tear people's throats out with my teeth.
It's party time.
Yeah, I've been nice for my entire life. This is fun. Oh no. Yeah, that was a great acting exercise, because so often you'll rely on like an accent or something to differentiate, whereas I had 17 narration styles all in your accent. Go.
But especially with the amount of lines that you had to drop, it's nice to at least be able to change things up rather than, oh, it's just going to be more lines on this and this, and now you can actually put a little bit of flavor in it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the differences between some of the styles were huge, but you only notice it, I think when the game first came out, everybody just thought that was whatever version they played was the only one, and it's only when people started doing second and third playthroughs, they're like, what is this? Who is this person? It's, yeah, it's interesting. I could always tell when my friends played as Dark Urge for the first time, because I would get these DMs, just like, Millie, what are you doing? I always, what's it somebody said? I always suspected, but now I know. I don't know what that means, but I'm fine with it.
It's scary, it's very confronting, but it's also nice to hear as a compliment that they expected it from you in a way. Talking about dark urges, Tim, are you scared that at any point your daughter might start playing the game and dislike Gale as a whole?
And dislike Gale? Well,
yeah.
Disliking Gale is disliking their own father. So
yeah,
that would be a hellish river to cross. I think they're very, very intrigued. I'll tell you something which is been an interesting thing that's happened recently, is my youngest daughter has a real love of Tara all of a sudden. It's quite an extraordinary thing, because people have made little Taras and things like that, and whenever I sort of unpack my case, my daughters are like, what's this? It's a cat. No, it's not a cat, it's a Tressym. What's that? It's a whip. Have a look. And so they've got a real love for that. So I think it would blow their mind if they actually saw it and heard my voice through that character. I think that would be very strange. But you've also got to understand, is being the child of an actor means you live in a very strange sort of world where every morning I will be muttering to myself in the kitchen, saying the same line again and again and again, slightly different ways, whilst trying to make toast or trying to create a breakfast of some description. So they get that slightly weird, oh, you're talking to yourself, oh, you're doing lines, you're running this, you're experimenting. So they get, it's a very odd world they inhabit anyway. But I think they'd be intrigued to see it. And if there is a flying cat, then they'd be well up for it.
Definitely, of course. I think it's going to be quite interesting, especially not just for the children, but also for your partners. Like, how do you get into it? Is there like a certain process for yourself on how to get ready to get your voice out there? Because I know whenever I had to do a show, my wife would, towards the weekend, say, you're getting more and more annoying, your jokes are getting worse and worse, you're talking more and more, and I'm very happy you're going to go
pull
for
your
work.
ego down.
No, she was really happy to push me out of the house after all, because I wouldn't be talking too much.
So you rev up to it?
Yeah, I was literally just slowly easing my way down. I'm just wondering if, like, you had something similar as well.
I had a whole kind of system put in place when I was a young actor, where I would think, right, I need as much sort of build up as I can get. So I would, I would learn lines in a certain way, patterns. I really enjoyed doing things in patterns. So like, this is a time now where I learn lines, this is a time now where I do this is a time where I do that. You then cut to 15 years later, living in the middle of London with just kids and stuff, and you have to snatch those times and be able to kind of snap into it as quickly as possible. It's like I've always been jealous of someone that can say, oh, I can just sleep anywhere. You go, really? I'd love that. Someone that just goes, I'm just going to have a quick 20 minutes. Oh, how can you do that? How can you just switch off and just sleep and then wake up? I don't. But you do have to get into that mode of just kind of real life. So I would drive. I would often drive to studio, and it would be that moment, just in the car, on my own, that I would then start getting into the character, because it just gives you, there's nothing else to do apart from just drive and just go through lines and go through things and rework things, think, oh, I'll try this or I'll try that. So you need that time, but it has gone from the glories of young actor, which is like, I've got days, to you've got an hour to get this all together, and like patches of them. So yeah, that's been interesting over the last few years to get that in. But it works, because it's quite a good mental gymnastics to snap, especially with this game, where you're suddenly, near the end of the recordings, you'd be like, right, you're now in the Underdark, you're being attacked, now you're in the Weave, it's a love scene, now you're back to the Nautiloid, now you're back right to the end again. And so to get your head into those very different emotional states is exhausting, but you've got to be able to sort of dump something very quickly, pick everything back up, find where it sits, do it, get rid of it again, find something else and carry on. So it's been quite an interesting exercise, really.
Yeah, it makes you incredibly emotionally versatile doing this kind of work, because we don't get to record from the start of a story to the end of the story. Sometimes you do, but there are always going to be pickups, and there are always going to be sessions that jump about from... Even in this game, when I recorded the end of the game, I did every single character's different narrated version of every single possible ending in one recording session. I felt like I was having a nervous breakdown by the end of it. It was just bizarre. So that side of things, it makes you very quick off the mark. Somebody will give you a touch point of like, this has happened, this has happened, this is the mood, go. And you do 5 lines and then you're on to the next emotion. It makes it fun to hop about. I come from a background of like pretty much everything, like TV, film, commercial radio, mocap, everything. So doing commercial radio I think really helped. I did a lot of that when I was a kid. And you're coming in with no rehearsal, sight reading a script. It's got to be down for time. You've got to get in, get out, and go. Because it's very much time is money. So that made me really good at sight reading, and as a result, unless I have to rehearse something, I don't like to. I sight read this entire game, because I find that keeps it fresh for me, and I don't overthink it.
That's quite extraordinary. You sight read this?
Yes.
That's really impressive. That is genuinely really impressive. That's a real...
Stop complimenting me in public.
That is a real skill. That is such a skill.
But that's why when we did that D&D game, and he was just like, here's the screen with very small font, and a script you've never seen go, I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this. Like, the lights were the biggest issue.
That was my... But it's also because then you can read it as it is written, rather than as you interpret it in your head for like an hour already.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can ride the current emotion, and if somebody gives you direction, you can turn on a dime with that, because you have to be able to. You can't be stuck in what you thought 5 minutes ago. If they've given you some brand new information, you've just got to be able to go. I like to, in a similar way to you, I guess, but less formal, I like to set my mood for a character. So I'll if I get time, I'll put together a playlist and just be listening to that, either in the car or back when I took trains, like in the train, or walking around my garden, or whatever, just to get into the feel of that character. I have some weird playlists now. But it really helps, because it means I don't have to overthink it. I can just feel what they feel like, and then go in and be there for it. Yeah. So I kind of prepare emotionally rather than technically.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I would do like with the drive, I try and put myself, like if Gail was driving a car, how would Gail drive a car?
Oh God,
wonderfully is what you're looking for there. Wonderfully, very good, very diligent. Couple of crashes, but that's it, that's all it had. But it really helped, which is when you were recording at home, I found it really difficult, because the gap between just doing stuff and work was so greatly reduced that you would have 5 minutes, the length of time it takes to get upstairs and kind of get everything set up and go, rather than the much longer just settling in. All right, there we go, that's where it is, and off you go. You have to find it a lot quicker.
And also have to make sure that the children are quiet as well in the meantime, because I don't think
because they wander in, those children. Good, it's like they own the house. Dreadful.
No, very risky. But would you say it's easier to just read it off the script for you, because it was more of a monologue thing, whereas as Gil usually had to respond to a player input or a different character? Would you say that is where it might have been easier, or is it just a personal skill
No,
set?
that's just my preference. Like I act, whatever that means. Every single character I play in any game or anything, I will always prefer to sight read if I can, just because it keeps things fresh for me. I get to follow their thoughts rather than what I thought they were doing. I like to have somebody else to read in the other lines though, that's nice.
But I can understand as well, because it's, especially because you said everything was written very well, you don't have to worry about it. If that wouldn't be the case, it might have been a little bit more difficult, but now it was just easy to just fly off it.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, now I think about it, I was reacting to something, it wasn't physical, if that makes sense. Like we always describe the narrator as being like, sorry, this is going to be creepy as hell, Tim.
Do it.
Just brace yourself.
God.
So we imagine the narrator like slightly behind the player's shoulder, just having a little whisper and just like, look at that, over there. Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, it does work.
Yeah, she's laughing.
God, you're right.
Like that side of things, like it's just directing someone's attention. And so I hadn't realised I was doing this until you asked this question. I was imagining that as I was reading, and what that character would be physically and emotionally reacting like to what I'm saying. So I was reacting, I just couldn't see the thing I was reacting to.
So
Does that make any sense at all?
But especially because you're a very feeling person when speaking and hearing things. It's like you're trying to convey that to other people as well. And the interesting thing is, you were describing something that wasn't there yet. Maybe it was in progress already. Maybe the developers might have seen it, but you had no clue. So that makes it really interesting, because you create context to things people see but want to know more of. And just that added layer of also feeling or dark urges or everything that you can put in makes it a lot more interesting. One thing I'm really wondering about, because it's really hard for me, is are you still able to listen to your own voice, especially in the game or anything else you do? Because some people have trouble with that.
I don't think anybody likes to hear back like a voice message of their own voice. Hi, it's Tim, you just come round. Could you please pick up? Like nobody goes, do I sound like that? This is how you hear me. I always think there's a thing with that. I've heard a lot of certain lines. Again, so they've become sort of, oh, okay, that's how that sounds. But I do find it very difficult. Like I don't, even with film stuff, in the immediate of filming something, I'll want to see it, just to see like, oh, if I do this slightly differently and this slightly differently, like you're really technically looking at something. You're not really watching it, you're just watching technical aspects. And it's the same with recordings. If you play something back together, you're not listening to your voice, you're listening to pauses and timing and like, oh yeah, it does this bit, you're right, no, I need to shift that. So that's primarily, but I won't really watch anything back, only by surprise. Like by surprise, I've been surprised by things like my kids will be watching Paddington, and I'll suddenly walk in and go, oh yeah, I did that, yeah, and then I'll leave. But it's very similar with this, because it's so word heavy as well. It's hard to hear my own voice, because I can just hear me through it. You know, so it is difficult. How do you find it?
I agree with you about the top bit, especially voice messages. I never used to send like WhatsApp voice messages, ever, and Jen, who plays Shadowheart, has broken me of that, because that's primarily how she communicates. So I feel ancient now, and occasionally listen back, like, does that make sense? And both of my ADHD goes crazy when I'm doing voice messages, because I'll get carried away, and then just, like, half the message is me going, sorry, did I answer the question? What was the question? I'm going to listen to your message back, I'll be back in 2. Like, that, I don't want to hear myself like that. But I always used to tear my performances to pieces a bit. I used to be my own worst critic, because, like, games take ages to finish. So it makes sense, I guess, that you'd be critical, because hopefully in a year you've got better than you were. So you're listening to it, knowing what you know now, going, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. Oh, I do that so differently now. I think this was the first game I've ever done where I listened to it and I was like, I'm really proud of that. I like it. I like what I did for that, and I've never experienced that before. I don't know if it's just like hitting my 40s and finally being comfortable with what I am. I don't know. But yeah, ever since this game, I've kind of just relaxed into what I am rather than trying to be what other people want me to be.
I think it's going to be very important, especially with the amount of hours you had to put into the game as well.
Yeah.
Then you, at the end, like...
Yeah, anyone who's heard the Outtakes now knows me way too well. That's all I'll say. That's me.
They're not ready for the younger audience, or...?
No. Sorry, I had to think about that really hard for a minute. Then, no, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's really not. No, don't show those to kids.
I've done some voice over for some stuff in my home office as well. And then when something goes wrong, there's some loud words coming out every now and then, and just blaming myself, saying nice things, and then I remember the windows are open and I live in an elderly neighborhood, so I'm always a little bit scared about what they hear, might not hear because of their age.
Feels like a them problem.
Yeah, have you had like a lot of expletives come out during recording?
No, more just weird noises and mess up. I mean, I swear a lot anyway. Let's not lie.
Yeah, it's true.
But I prefer creative swearing, where you're smashing 2 unrelated swear words together to make a brand new one that didn't exist. No, it's mainly just like my stomach making noises at strange moments, and then me talking to it and telling it off like it's a naughty school kid. Or me and Josh, one of my directors, and I were particularly just idiotic together during these recording sessions. Like, we just have a similar sense of humour, and there's so much of the script, and some of it can be really dark, so you have to have that attitude of like, oh, when the silly hits us, we're just going to ride it out, because the sessions will be more efficient and more fun that way. So I've got 4 years worth of me just being so bad at my job to edit together. There are a lot more outtakes waiting for me to have time to edit them, honestly, but it's fun. It's nice to do it like that and not feel constant pressure to be perfect all the time. You know, it's
just be you.
Yeah, because it's part of the process. Like, who wants? One of my favourite things, one of the things I miss about DVDs is all the outtakes and the special features. Like, who wants an outtakeless movie?
I
It's
don't.
boring.
I want all the outtakes, but I want to see people laughing
Exactly.
and getting it wrong.
Because that's part
Nothing
of
better.
it, right?
Nothing
That's part
better.
of this process, and you lot so rarely get to see that.
In fact, that's a trick. I did this show called Upstart Crow, which was about Shakespeare. It's very good if you haven't seen it. Go and watch it. It's very funny. And we filmed it almost as a play. We'd rehearse all week, and then we'd film 3 sets on a soundstage, and we'd perform it like a play in front of a live studio audience. And the thing is, with a live studio audience, when you've got an audience and then you have a break where all the cameras are, then you have us. And everyone sort of comes on, everyone sees you in your costume, oh my, that's amazing. But there was a real palpable tension in the audience until someone made a mistake, and then it breaks the tension, because the audience then relaxed. So you would fit in. But David Mitchell, who was playing Shakespeare, dressed as Shakespeare, would at some point during this very flowery soliloquy go, oh fuck. And as soon as he said that, the audience would go, oh, it's Shakespeare. Shakespeare's just said fuck. It's hilarious. And everyone would calm down, and then you feel like, oh, we can really play with it now. So if we do make mistakes, it's not like, oh, we made the mistake that the audience feel like because it's not a play.
Yeah.
It's a TV show, and in TV shows you constantly are doing retakes, but to an audience watching it like a play, you assume it is a play. So I think that's
But
quite,
that's like the added value of going to see it, because otherwise they just watch it on TV. Like they want to see the real experience of what this is like.
Yeah.
They want to see humans,
Yeah.
I dare to say.
Yeah.
And just messing it up and not going, not being able to get through a door or something. It's fun. Coming in dressed as a horse, fun.
Yeah. And that's why it was so nice that Lorraine let me put those outtakes out. Like, I wasn't expecting that. Nobody ever does that. If they
With games,
release
no.
outtakes, they're in control of it. Whereas I was like, I've got 4 years worth of files of me repeatedly fucking up. Can I do something with this? Do you want it? And they're like, oh, we've got a game to make, mate. You can do something if you want. I'm like, I can send you the edit so you can like approve things and tell me stuff you want to change. And you're just like, no, that's all right, we trust you. Don't tell a first child that. That's a lot of pressure.
It's a stomach again, oh boy.
Yeah, so I just have to be careful not to give away spoilers too early on. But I think we're past that stage now.
I think we're past that. I think we're okay.
I can tell people how I remembered Saravok's full name. I remember things based on what they rhyme with, so I don't pronounce them wrong. So he was Saravok Armchair for the entire of this game.
Well, it's an important way to do it. But I think we've come to the end of our talk roughly here. And you still have a long day here, of course, with signing, autographs, and of course a little voice recordings if people want to. And we'll be in Hall 3 at the Gameforce area, where if you just walk through the tube, you'll just see your beautiful faces on the banner. And we'll,
Massive. Just look for our massive faces.
Massive face.
Massive voice, massive face, everything makes so much sense. Now, thank you very much for your insights and talking to us. Of course, we'll be back tomorrow again, and we'll start the day off here. But we'll be signing and doing everything in, I would dare to say, roughly 20 minutes. You need a little breather, and then we'll be ready to
Sounds
go.
about right.
That's
As
about
long as
right.
it takes me to deck a sandwich, basically.
That's not punch a sandwich, that's
Maybe.
actually eat a
Depends how good the
sandwich.
sandwich
This
is.
is a good point.
Don't challenge
That's a good point,
me.
but I'm not challenging you.
I'm really hoping to witness that in just a moment. So everyone, thank you very much for joining here. We hope to see you again in Hall 3 at the signing area, and we'll be there soon enough.